Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video with myself and Sloth today. This is an interesting one. A lot of rumours and stuff online about the transfer direction, the strategy we're going in this summer, Sloth. We've obviously signed Kilman, Foderingham, Gilherme, and there's still a lot of work to do. But people are starting to think, is it a scattergun approach? Are we going a bit too out of our way by going to the likes of Brazil? Again, rumoured that Tim Steinen's now going back out to Brazil to try and get a deal over the line for Wesley Gasova and also to talk to Lucas Paqueta at the same time. But we've been linked with quite a few players already so far this summer. So question to you, firstly, Sloth, is it a scattergun approach or is there something a little bit more systemized towards it?
I think it feels like we're really searching for the best value deal in terms of like what we feel works for us. And I don't think we've got the same issue in terms of scattergun being we're waiting for people to approach us or specific agents to approach us. And if we like the target, we move for them. I think we've probably just got a list. We're working through it and, trying to make contact, figure out if the price is right for us and assess it value for money wise. I just feel like it's way too early in the window for people to be panicking, but it's also, I understand why some people are a bit frustrated because I think everyone wanted everything to be done by pre-season and everything to be ready by then. But obviously that's not how football works. It would be lovely if it did, or if it was. But I think at the moment it seems like we've got targets in positions and we're negotiating the best value on every player as opposed to just going, right, this position, and addressing it one by one.
Do you think that is probably the best approach for what we need this summer? Because you look at a club like, say, Arsenal right now, take it back to last summer with Declan Rice as a good example because it links to West Ham. They had their number one target and they didn't settle for any alternative. They made sure to get Mikel Arteta's number one signing through the door. Same with Havertz that arrived the same summer, same as Timber. So they didn't really settle on alternatives. It was kind of what Arteta wanted. They basically went and got that. Is it a little bit different for us at West Ham? Because A, we're not the size of Arsenal as a club. B, we don't have that European pool anymore. And C, we've got a hell of a squad rebuild to be doing. It's not like we've got a composed squad. Arteta had picked, 3 or 4 years of good transfer money spent to get to that point last summer. So he was almost at a point where he can handpick, whereas I wouldn't say we're in a position where we can handpick players. But at the same time, we've gone out and got Kilman, which is Lopetegui's first choice centre-back. So are we really in a position where we can't have this long, huge name of lists to be working from for all of these different positions?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with what you were saying just then. It's about the fact that we have to be realistic about what we're doing and the approach that we're taking. Unfortunately, we have almost taken a step back. We don't have the same pull. That's just the fact of it, really. Unfortunately, we're not in Europe. That's a huge pull for a number of players, but also we are undergoing a big overhaul in terms of how we do business. And look, I know it doesn't sound like we are, but to put it into context, you look at the sort of deals that we've done in the past windows, even just in recent years, we've worked with William Salthouse and we've gone out and got players that have been offered to us. And I think it's a very different approach this window in terms of signing younger players who are quite highly rated, and then also trying to find the best value in that sort of approach as well. And say we went out and got every single player that Lopetegui wanted, that's one thing. But in the final week of the window, Barcelona call you up and say, Ferran Torres is available on a loan to buy. We only want £5 million for the fee, but the installments over that and the clause would mean that it's £10 million extra in total to sign him, to confirm the signing. And suddenly we have to go, we can't do that. We can't afford that. It's those sort of things that you have to plan for in football. And I know it sounds daft because I'm basically saying that you have to find that balancing point, that tipping point where you're backing the manager, but also leaving yourselves open to the possibility that these deals may arrive, while also chasing your targets that suit the profile, the profile of the squad, how you want to play, and also the quality of the league in general. And I think it's incredibly hard to do. But as I said, we're not just looking at a change in how we target players or the type of players that we're targeting. It's all about the way that we're working behind the scenes as well. And, we've got data-driven approaches now. It's going to take a little bit of time to integrate that and to get the club fully moving towards that approach. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think that's what's very important to stress for a lot of people, but also myself. I want us to be chasing a lot of exciting targets. And I'm thinking, right, there's a player in League On that I like, and we've spoken about the finances in that league. Why aren't we going out and getting them? And no, it looks like Bournemouth are going to sign them. And you think, God, what are we doing? We may well have a different plan. And it's just important to keep reminding yourself about that.
This video is sponsored by Emotive. Emotive provide cutting-edge digital services, solutions, and training to companies and businesses of all sizes. Emotive have worked with some fantastic brands in the past, as you can see behind me, the likes of Apple, Google, Tesco, and of course, Babylon Irons. Emotive offer 4 key services, the first being digital solutions, the second being professional training and coaching, the third being fractional experts, and the fourth being AI readiness. We're going to be working with Emotive on our channel to improve how we showcase the data to you guys in our breakdown videos and data analysis videos. If you want to find out more information about how Emotive can work with you, make sure to scan the QR code now, which will take you to emotivetouch.com, where you can find out more details about the company, and the link will be in the description. A massive thank you to Emotive once again for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it.
I think for me, Sloth, it's when you have the core of a squad built, that's when you can start to be a little bit more ambitious with the approach, or you can be a little bit more nitpicky with what you want to bring into the football club. But as you mentioned before, it's a massive rebuild. You're bringing in a new manager, new philosophy. Tim Steidten only came in last year. Everything's kind of changed in the background in terms of how the operation is handled, who's responsible for the transfers. Obviously, David Sullivan himself is now taking a little bit more of a back seat, which is, it's a positive move for the club. So I think for me, I need that core of the squad built first. I need, Kilman coming in. Okay, brilliant. That's Lopetegui's main centre back signing. We've got that done already addressed before the preseason started. Then we've got someone like Gil Herme, who again is kind of a one that Tim has picked out, which again, we have to back what he's doing. He's got a track record of producing some really good signings across Europe, that we have to back what he's doing there. I think most people are getting a little bit concerned is, say, the striker position, because we've been linked with, say, 5, 6, 7 names already, quite a lot. And we're putting in bids for all of these players and seeing kind of what the best value is on the market. But does that element maybe give you a little bit of concern? Because again, some of the strikers have been slightly different profiles, and not necessarily the same profile, but just, again, different players in different leagues, or, different price tags.
I think, as I mentioned, it's that sort of balance of changing the approach to the market. And, we've been linked with our old friend Callum Wilson again. It's in recent weeks we've had those links, and I think that is almost trying to get rid of the old approach, or people perhaps just expecting us to keep doing that sort of thing. And look, a lot of that is based on the fact that we know that we're potentially going to be, we may well be looking to move Antonio if Antonio expresses that he wants to move, because he'll be in the last year of his contract. And it's smarter for us to part ways this summer than let him run his deal down. That's just the reality of it. But I think getting an experienced head in that department or across the pitch, I think that's where we've kind of seen some of the more, shall we say, disheartening rumours come from. But look, it's one thing to have a mixture of profiles that you're linked with. It's another thing entirely to actually go out and sign them. And if you're just contacting an agent and saying, what's the fee here, or what would your expectation be financially, it's a very different thing altogether than to actually make a bid and start negotiating. And if Timothy Sambastaiton, as I'm sure the Brazilian enthusiast part of our fan base seem to be hounding the poor man. I think if he wants to try and start changing how we approach the window, maybe, he's taking more of a personal approach and actually regularly contacting players, ones within the squad, but also speaking to the likes of Gasova again, speaking to, like we heard with Gohame, speaking to his representatives quite a lot. I think that sort of thing, to do it in person, is far more important than just over the phone or an email.
Yeah, I also think that they wouldn't be stupid enough to blow all the budget on all these like hidden gems or whatever, whatever people want to label the likes of Guilherme as. I think we're already targeting the core of the squad, and that's trying to be addressed early in the window. You've got Areola in the core. Okay, great. He's going to be our number one goalkeeper. You've brought in Kilman to be your centre back. We're looking to try and bring in another centre back if Zuma or Aged leave. If not, we've got Mavropanos. So again, the core of the team has improved already from last season. You've then got Alvarez, who's likely to stay and be that kind of defensive core. Then you're going to have Kudus likely playing in the 10. And again, it's whether we want to sign an 8 to be in that core as well. And then you've got the one position really to kind of complete that spine is the striker position. I think if we'd signed a striker by now, a really solid striker that was Lopetegui's number one pick, say an El Naziri early on in the window as an example, people wouldn't be annoyed right now. I think people would be in a fantastic we would say we're in a fantastic place in the window, because then realistically, as a minimum, you're looking at, we need to bring in a left wing 100%. We need to bring in a right back 100% because Ben Johnson's gone. But then your kind of core squad, again, we spoke about it, your core squad, your core starting 11 has been built. The foundations are then there to then look at some of these deals a little bit later, like a Ferran Torres, like you mentioned at the beginning of the video, where those sorts of deals will happen in the last 2 to 3 weeks of the transfer window. So I think for me, as long as the core activity is done by the end of this month, I'm happy. I'm good with that. Like, as long as the core stuff's been addressed before we go into the Premier League season, that's the main thing for me. I think the last couple 2 to 3 weeks of the transfer window, you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether Paqueta's going to be sold. We don't know whether Alvarez will stay. We don't know what's happening with Aged or Zuma. Like, there's so many different moving parts. So it's as you mentioned very early on in the video, it's still early days. When we're recording this, 10th or 11th of July. So there's a lot of work to still be done, but I don't doubt the transfer strategy itself. I don't look at all these links and think, oh, it's scattergun. I don't think that's fair to say that. I think what we're doing is we've got a list of players. Lopetegui and Steiden have agreed on that list, and we're trying to make these deals happen. And again, it's going to have to be, for a club like West Ham, the best deal for value to bring into the football club, because we can't go spend 110 million on a defensive midfielder just to be picky. We can't do that. We've got a smaller budget than that is required, and B, way too much work that needs to be done across the entire squad. So yeah, are you trusting the process, Sloth?
I think you've got to. I think that there are some important factors to try and remember across the space of the window. The first of all, it is that the players themselves are massive in terms of their pull these days. And we've seen many times, and the one that always springs to mind for me is when Didier Drogba joined Chelsea, but of course he was basically snatched from West Ham. Incredibly close to signing for West Ham. Chelsea came in and basically snatched him where before he was signing the deals. You know, we were convinced he was going to sign, and I think it's first of all very easy to forget that football is a completely different world to many of the businesses that you know we know, but it's also the fact that the players themselves are going to think about what's best for them. Someone like En-Nesyri is been linked to us many times. He's probably thinking, I know I've got this option. I know Lopetegui's going to want me. So I can leave this till later in the window and see what offers I get. I've heard there's interest from Saudi. The Saudi window doesn't close until, you know, a week after the English window. So I might have an option there. Whatever I do, I basically need people to move for me so I can get the best deal for myself. And whether that's in terms of wages, signing bonus, whatever it might be, the players themselves can delay the deal for as long as they, you know, the club willing to sign them will let that happen before they walk away. The other thing is that I think when you're looking at payment structures, and so much of that is factored into FFP these days. You look at Man United who've signed or agreed a deal for Joshua Zirkzee. You know, they're paying over the release clause so that they don't have to pay everything up front. And I think, you know, we're seeing something similar with Jota Silva, where we don't really want to pay the release clause and we're looking for a way around that. Maybe we can pay in a different structure. Maybe going over the release clause is something that we've looked at so we can, you know, space out the payments. But I think the key things to remember are that the players are far more powerful these days than even back when I was talking about Drogba, you know. That's how much it shifted. And also that they're going to be looking for the best deal for themselves. And look, I'm if I was a good enough footballer to be having clubs left, right, and centre for me, I would always want to try and join West Ham. But that's not how it works, unfortunately. You know, En-Nesyri isn't a West Ham fan, and he's not going to be going, oh, if only I could live in London and you know, but it would be nice if that was the case. And European football might have been a factor in that, in terms of, you know, if we qualified for Europa League, maybe he would have gone, yeah, you know what, I want to link up with my old manager and I'm going to make that happen, and we're going to get this deal sorted nice and quickly. But now he's probably thinking, actually, I can hold out for an extra $100,000 a week and go to Saudi. So it's those things are a huge factor in football. And I think I'm trying to stay as positive and level-headed as I can. I think there are a lot of targets that are on the move that I think suit us, and I'm kind of disappointed we miss out on them. But you've also got to think about the business side of things, and certain clubs are paying a lot more than they might have done. Certain clubs are selling to other clubs who need who need the money and are being monitored by FFP, and they're doing it for whatever reason. But it's just important to remember that I think we've got a good setup now where we're not going to be held to ransom, but also we're going to have plan Bs. It's not just a case of the January a few windows ago where we were potentially looking to sign Darwin Núñez, and you know, we'd been chasing Luis Diaz from Porto. As soon as Liverpool came in, that went up in smoke, and we went to look somewhere else, went to Darwin Núñez, and we left the deal too late. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think we'll be operating like that this window. I think we will have multiple irons in the fire and looking to get the best deal for ourselves negotiated so we can quickly get things sorted and we're not, you know, stood around kind of twiddling our thumbs when it comes to deals.
Yeah, I think as well, a lot of the links we have, you know, the players we have been linked to have been players that we've broke down on this channel and also said they'd actually be really good fits. They'd actually be really good additions to the squad. There's only really been 2 or 3 that I can think of where I've gone, probably not the best route to go down, or I'd prefer someone else. But a lot of the targets have been really solid. So I think the approach is there. We just need to be a little bit more patient. Again, if we're sat here in what 7-8 weeks time and we're in the same position, then sure, we can panic and we can be frustrated. But there's still loads of time left. So for now, we're going to trust the process. I believe they are doing what's best for the club, and I'm a lot more ambitious about this transfer window than I have been in the past. So yeah, let us know your thoughts down below on West Ham's transfer situation so far. Are you happy with it? What would you like to see happen next? What position do we need? Let us know all of that down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new around here and stuff. Till the next one.
Come on, you irons.